Hi everybody, Rick here again with another model review and build. This is on the HobbyBoss 5-ton fueler man truck. They call it LKW 5T mil GLW. And once again, it's in 1/35 scale by HobbyBoss. So the first thing to look at is the overall box that HobbyBoss sends their models in is real sturdy. It's the double corrugated, heavy duty. They also package everything nice and they separate it in different little bags that are actually pretty well sealed. So shipping wise, your model should come in real good condition. The parts itself, you've got rubber tires, 4 sets, real nice detail on them. You've got multiple baggies of different devices, and specific to the fueler version, they also make this in a standard 5-ton. And I just found out that HobbyBoss this year in 2020 is bringing out a 7-ton version in the rocket launcher, the standard truck, and the dump truck, which I'm excited about. So here's the cab, real well detailed, nice quality. And you've got your rubber hoses in there for your fueling system. You have standard plastic, the clear parts there for the windshields and your headlights and taillights. The decal set with all the fuelers. It's got a little protective cloth on the top so you can't see them quite as well. Once you look at the model, actually, when it's completed, you'll see the quality of them. You got your couple of different of these, the metal PE parts, different components, etc. A chain, and then once again another PE metal sheet. Looking at the overall kit itself, not bad detail, good injection molds, not too many little sprue pieces extra. HobbyBoss and Trumpeter both have a bad habit of putting lots of these. Makes for good molds, but lots of cleanup work. You can see the tail end, the tail hitch, different support systems for the bed. And then what I like is that when they package this, they put these real delicate parts in some styrofoam, the popcorn, forget what this is called, the popping stuff that makes it protected real well. Didn't have any broken pieces that I can found so far. Lots of different other parts here for the bed. Neat part about this fueler is here's the fuel tanks. They go together nicely, look real sharp. You have the non-skid plating they put on them and all the supports. Here's part of the suspension system, axles, etc. Once you build a kit, the one thing you're going to notice is there's some extra parts. Well, after finding out that they're building the 7-ton, which is a 3-axle versus this 2-axle, that explains that. You'll have those. So once again, like I said, I'm real excited about seeing that. Here's the bed specific to this version, which has the mounting places for the fueler. The standard version has the infantry seating in it, or you can make it just an open bed. And then here's the drive shaft, suspension system, frame, etc. So going through the instructions, first of all, you get this nice little advertisement sheet that they give, which shows obviously the fueler, some different products they're coming out with in the future. Instructions itself, like I said, are well laid out. I didn't find any errors or issues within it. All the explanations are pretty clear. We have a list of all your parts, etc. And then they start getting into building them. All the components, like I said, nothing real confusing. Went together real well. The instructions themselves are pretty concise. Breaks it down in reasonable amounts of work. Nothing real scary about it. Some of the parts, when you're putting them together, you're worried about gluing them, but after building it, it went together really nicely. So no complications or worries. See the hull, the frames, the axles, the wheels, etc. Then you start getting into the cab. Cab itself has a lot of nice detail, interior, different supports and stands. This would be the stand to stand on if they're in the aerial machine gun position. Details us out the transmissions, spare tire, etc. If you've built the Revell version, you'll be very, very pleased with the added detail that they've done here. HobbyBoss really stepped up their game and came out with a really nice sharp kit. Everything goes together, like I said, pretty smooth and specific. No scary parts. Finishing up the frame, the underlayment. Then you get into the next component. This is the fuel pump. This was by far the hardest part to build. Went together really nicely, but it was one of those parts where as you're assembling it, you're really scared of gluing parts because it all comes together in the end, and you're worried about gluing something wrong and then having it not fit together. But it came together actually really well. Here's the fuel tanks themselves, etc. Now, one piece I will say right up front, do not glue the fuel tanks in until after you put the securing chains on. In this area up in here, there's some lock nuts that you have to tie the chains to. Do all that first, then glue it on here. It'll be much easier and you won't have the nightmare that I had, which in retrospect I would have done differently. And then here's the chains I was talking about. Do all of this first, then glue this in. You'll be much happier. See here all the different components, putting the side rails on, etc. You probably are going to want to paint underneath here before you put these side rails on because you can't get an angle in there. So I would suggest painting that first and then gluing all that on. And one other thing I love about HobbyBoss, they give outstanding painting diagrams. One of the things, if you do any modern German, you'll know that they have a very specific paint job that all their vehicles have, and HobbyBoss is probably one of the better companies at accurately portraying that. Makes life much easier, and you just follow the pictures. They have a nice big sheet, 8.5 by 11, with a good detail and clarity. So about 50 hours later, here's the finished product. Really nice looking kit, comes together nicely, like I said. This is what I was talking about when you're doing those chains inside here. Do those and then try and put this all together. A couple things that I noticed on the kit in building it. Germans have this component right here. This placard is on a plate, where HobbyBoss wants you just to put the decal right on the outside. Well, that's not correct. So I did add a plate and change that myself. All the parts, the rest of it went together nicely. The painting. Looking at the interior here, it looks real nice. So, and then here's the front end. One more thing that HobbyBoss doesn't do, not a major deal, is this placard here on the front for the fuel actually sits on a mount. It was fine putting it that way, so I didn't build the mount itself, but it normally does go there. And you can kind of get an idea of the underside, all the details, etc. Goes together really nice. Looks real sharp once it's all finished. They have really done an outstanding job. Some of these parts here that are actually hanging like they are for real, they use metal parts in this very fine, delicate plastic, so it comes together really nice. And you get an idea of the fuel pump back here, how it looks, the fuel lines, etc. In that area, you kind of get an idea of them. And the tailgate, the reflective plates, license plate, the follow me plates, etc. Anyway, like I said, nice kit. I'm very impressed with it. I'm really looking forward to the next one I have to build. I'll learn a little bit from building the first one, and I'm real excited about the 7-ton trucks coming out. Anyway, any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.